Greetings, I am Robin Walker. I'm also known as the Black History Man. My reputation as a Black History scholar was established in 2006 when I wrote this book. It's called When We Ruled. And what I do for a living is I teach Black history and I teach Black studies to adults. I am interested in empowering adults through knowledge, and that's my slogan, if you like. My proudest moment was in the year 2007 when I was able to present the book When We Ruled to the Jamaican Prime Minister, the Honourable Portia Simpson Miller. So, what's this about? Well, I'm here to inform you of a series of lectures and workshops that me and some colleagues will be hosting. This will take place in northwest London, so we are interested. If you're in North London, you should be here. If you're in West London, you should be here. And beginning on the 1st of May, every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month, we will be holding a session. My aim is to attract adults from all walks of life. You could be a teacher, a plumber, a care worker, a caterer, a student, a parent. If you're interested in self-development, if you're interested in community development, you should come to our events. We aim to teach Black history and Black studies. Now, people ask me, Robin, what is history? History is all knowledge not acquired in the present. So even when you study something such as mathematics, what you're actually studying is history. Now, let me show you how. I entered a classroom a few months ago where there was a poster of Pythagoras on the wall, and they were teaching the mathematical idea of Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem, that's the theory around triangles. What that taught the pupils wasn't just a mathematical idea. They were also teaching that the ancient Greeks, Pythagoras was an ancient Greek, the ancient Greeks were very clever people, and they made a contribution to the origin and evolution of mathematics. In a different maths classroom, I saw a poster on the wall with the Roman numerical system I, V, VI, the Roman numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, when you are learning this, you're not just learning mathematics, you're learning that the Romans were very clever people who made a contribution. In a different maths classroom, they had something on the Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci sequence is an idea developed by an Italian mathematician called Leonardo da Pisa. So again, we go from the ancient Greeks to the Romans to the medieval Italians. So essentially, learning mathematics is learning a history lesson. Now, this is true with all the subjects you study at school. Now, when we look at knowledge, a lot of it will come from Europe, a lot of it will come from Asia, a few things will come from ancient America, but one group of people who are always left out of the picture are people of African descent. What did we contribute? The result of all of this is that Black people end up leaving the education system, believing that they are the only people who have contributed nothing to the evolution of knowledge. Now, what I teach is to challenge that so that you do understand where Black people fit in to the political history of the world, the economic history of the world, in the areas of the arts, in the areas of the sciences, in the areas of technology. Where do we fit in? And this whole area is Black history. Another area which is related to it is Black studies. Black studies explicitly looks at the sociology, the psychology, the politics, the economics, the art, the literature, the music, all from our perspective. So we get to learn about ourselves, where we fit into the picture. You get to become familiar with names like Cheikh Anta Diop, Frantz Fanon, Frances Cress Welsing, Jan Heinz John, Ekpo Ayo, Eileen Southern, Ashanafi Kebede, all those people who have told us where we fit into all the areas of learning and knowledge. To give 4 examples of what's involved with Black history, I was asked to do a biography of an elderly Black man and his name was Alan Wilmot. He used to be part of a group called the Southlanders, and I was asked to write up his memoirs and then turn it into something of a biography. In doing so, I came across some interesting facts that I didn't know. For example, there was a Trinidadian pianist who, in the mid-1950s, her name was Winifred Atwell. And in Britain, she was the biggest selling star. She was earning the equivalent of 10,000 US dollars per week. And she was shifting 30,000 units per week. The BBC gave her 2 shows of her own. In both cases, they were multi-part series. And then ATV Television also gave her her own show. Now, did we know of this black woman getting her own show in the mid-1950s? Another interesting fact was 1948 Empire SS Windrush. Now, everyone knows this history. We all know that Lord Kitchener, the great Calypsonian, was on that ship. But did we know that Lord Woodbine was also on the ship? Now, who's Lord Woodbine? He was the original manager and mentor to the Beatles. Now, a third interesting fact came out because of the troubles going on in West Africa right now. The West African nation of Mali has been invaded by various forces allegedly linked to Al-Qaeda, and they've been causing a lot of mayhem. But the result then is that news stories have come out to the effect that one of the Malian cities called Timbuktu has 700,000 medieval manuscripts written largely by Africans, telling the history, the culture, the sciences, the arts, the engineering, even subjects like optics. A tradition of writing going back to a time when that city of Timbuktu used to be the center of an ancient West African university, as was the case from about the 1100s onwards. And between the 1100s and the 16th century, that was a great period of intellectual flowering where black scholars were writing, were researching, and those manuscripts have survived, and this is one of the stories that have come out during the Troubles. A second story was also related to this, and it concerned a West African king called Mansa Musa. Let me explain. What happened was a website called Celebrity Net Worth did a survey of the richest people in history. And they compiled the 25 richest people. And as you would expect, the Rothschilds family were on that list. But the number one, ahead of the Rothschilds, was a West African king who used to rule over Mali in the 14th century. His name was Mansa Musa I. And they believed that he had an estimated wealth, if you were to convert it into modern money, of 249 billion pounds, which would be the equivalent of 400 billion US converted into modern money. They believe he's the richest human being there's ever been. So the obvious question then is that if you came and studied with me, what's in it for you? Well, you get to study amongst like-minded adults. You get to bond and form friendships with people who want to grow just like you. You get to grow and develop in a mutually supportive environment. You get to learn from a published author. Moreover, you can end the embarrassment of having to front to your children about Black history, subjects that you may not know very much about, but you need to pretend and front. And this way you can end that embarrassment because you will have gained that mastery. Now, one question that people ask me is, Robin, what of your previous students who have done these sorts of courses, what are they doing now? Well, some of them have done community-focused projects. They've been involved in self-help initiatives. They've been involved in community politics. Other people who have studied with me have gone into business, and they've made all sorts of business projects happen. I shall tell you about one of them, which I'm particularly proud of. Other people have gone into their own personal development. They've studied even further. One of my students is in the process of finishing his PhD. Now, let me give you one example of something that I was really, really proud of. Some of my students who had studied with me, they put together the history, they put together the economics, they put together the empowerment, and they decided to go into business and make some projects happen. And they called me in because they were very, very upset that a project that they were attempting to do didn't work. And what they'd done was they pulled their money and they attempted to buy property in Atlanta. And the deal had gone wrong. They bought the property, but the money that they were expecting to make, they didn't make. And while it was a shame that the deal went wrong, what they couldn't see was the bigger picture, the fact that they had attempted to do it. And it was something that they did off their own steam. And it was good to see a group of young black adults deciding that, wait a minute, we can do this, we can make that happen. Other people teach. There are people that I've trained and they teach black history and black studies in Bradford and Leeds. I've got other people who are doing it in Birmingham. Former colleagues are doing it in London. Another colleague is doing it in Liverpool 8. So the message is being spread. So my thing then is, if that's what they can do, what can you do?